there is something here that, that we probably need to talk about. And this is put in place, at least for, our program, to keep people from burning out. I know that there was a time when I was on board that, you know, we were down to the wire as far as head coaches and needing to maybe eliminate some sports because we didn't have enough head coaches to go around that were certified in sports. So one of the things that we talked about as a management team was coaches that are certified, whether you're certified in more than one sport or, you know, been an assistant coach in a sport and you're certified in that sport, we are limiting the number of times that you can be a head coach in 1 year. So if you're a head coach, and what did you say, track and field, Rita? So you're head coach in track and field. The recommendation would be that you not accept another head coach throughout the year because you put in a lot of time.
I agree.
So, I mean, the recommendation that you not be the head coach and have all of that responsibility in more than one sport. You can most assuredly be an assistant coach for that sport, but the onus doesn't fall on you, so that you're not having to keep up that regimen all year long. So, that's a lot of organizations, not just this one, are finding that, you know, they have the same people stepping up every time for everything that comes down the road. And they think they can handle that, but after a while, they can't. And then they start getting irritable.
Oh, that's me.
I mean, the classic signs of burnout, guys.
It is.
I mean, really, you have to protect yourself against that. And so the management team talked about it, and we really have thought that, you know, we need to make sure that our people are not burning out, because what's the next thing that happens? Anybody tell me? They're gonna quit. And now you're gonna have to start all over and look for somebody else. So let's be cognizant of what we volunteer for, how much we put our hand up. And
It's kind of hard though, too.
it's very hard, and I've been guilty of it.
You know, there was nobody that was gonna do that.
Right.
I'm not coaching anything
Yes, you are. I'm in charge of deciding coaches. You're right.
But again,
Done.
Jessica can go ahead and monitor that. And again, if you have a sport that doesn't have a head coach, and you have somebody, that doesn't mean that you can't ever, but it has to be based on, have we been able to fill that slot? If not, how many athletes are gonna be affected by that? If we can't offer that sport, how many athletes are gonna be affected? So we have to keep all of that in mind. Yes, this is a guideline, but we have to make sure that, you know, we're continuously seeking people to fill those roles, so we're not burning out our people.
Unfortunately, you're the head coach for two of the biggest sports,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of work.
Purchasing,
Anything?
and this one used to be kind of a free-for-all.
What was that, I'm sorry?
Purchasing.
Okay.
So it used to be when I first was in it, and part of the reason that they were down to $300, I might add, that any coach could just go out and buy whatever they needed or thought they needed for their program and not need to get approval. And so when I came on board as treasurer, that all changed. And so that, as far as I'm aware, has not changed. So before you are putting anything, you know, expending anything, that needs to go through the management team. I mean, obviously,
We do
if
have
there's a need,
We're still using your request sheet.
yeah, there's a request
And I
request
can-
form that
I'll
you can
get that
put
out to
in,
everybody.
and the management team can look at it, the treasurer will look at it, and make it, okay,
I have a question on that.
yeah.
How is your 15 management people able to come up with that approval, that decision? If they've never been a coach, they're a teacher, but they've never coached a sport in this area, how are they to determine,
What's needed?
yeah,
So that's a conversation that you have when you take that role. If there's something that because your program's brand new.
yeah,
So if there's something that you have that, you know that you're gonna need,
mhm.
that's the question that you ask before you take that
Oh, well, I have
position.
plenty of time to do that then.
Yes, and develop a budget, and then present it to, yeah.
I think that's important,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be penny, to the penny, of course not, but develop a general budget, is to,
Yeah.
This is what we absolutely need, and this is what I'd really like to buy,
Mhm.
Yeah,
the
I
two
mean,
different categories.
Down to pom-poms, they need pom-poms.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
oh, no, I'm saying like, I know I would go, as a coach, you would go to who you go to. But then you said they would submit something to your 15 panel people. And I'm like, how are they to determine what
No,
they
you
need?
you would list what you need for that program, and, I mean, you could be invited to a management team to state your case, if that's,
If there's a
Oh, I-
question, there's
if
usually
it's
not a
in
question,
question,
yeah.
but really, that's why you're in the position, because you've already been vetted.
Mhm.
You know what you're talking about, you have experience, so chances are that's not gonna be in question.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
what,
not,
and
but
you
then-
don't have to worry about like the registrations for the management team will know the cost for that. And that's not a part of your budget, it's the physical equipment. Do we need
Okay.
basketballs for the basketball
Got it.
training?
We need another
How much do we pay for shoes at the bowling alley? Bocce balls,
We need a new bocce, another bocce.
So, yeah.
Court?
Well, we have 33 bocce players this year.
That's
A
awesome.
lot, you're right.
Yeah, that's a lot of bocce.
So, yeah, keep budgets in mind.
What is is it a calendar year budget or fiscal year?
I think they do it
Yeah.
fiscal,
Fiscal.
yeah, I'm pretty sure unless they've changed it, but it used to be fiscal year.
Sandy is
What
just.
date to what date?
July 1 to June 30.
That's what I thought.
Fundraising, being a fundraiser for Special Olympics, the management team has to know about it before you put it out there. They have to approve it, again, insurances for athletes to be somewhere that, if they're representing, we need to know where our athletes are and make sure that we're, operating by the rules. There are also, any monies that are brought in need to be turned into the treasurer. It all has to go through. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna sell these candies, they're gonna come in and I'm just gonna go and take that money and buy the equipment that I need, or t-shirts that I need. It's gotta go into the Special Olympics account, and then you submit a request to spend that money that you raised, to have the treasurer write a check, either to the vendor, or if you've expended it. You have to get approval before you expend it out of your own pocket, and, then you can submit for reimbursement.
And it all goes through the central office,
Has
we
to
don't
go
have
through,
any,
yeah.
Maybe so, yeah.
yeah.
Now, the
And-
money that we make on the calendar part, is it ours, or does it go up higher?
It
up
goes,
higher.
it goes in, it's a central accounting system.
That's not ours.
But they keep track of money that each, if we earn $8,000, we can certainly spend $8,000. They're not gonna say, well, this just,
Yeah.
They're
Bubba
giving it
needs
to
something.
somebody else.
Yeah.
That
it's
goes
earmarked for us.
into a line item for here.
And if we get any donations specifically for our program, put Fayette County on the line of the check or whatever, and it stays with Fayette. We don't keep it, they keep it, but they earmark it. And don't plan any car cruises without telling anybody, okay? Never mind.
Especially not using the correct name.
Oh my gosh. what-
And the same goes for public relations. We had an incident when I was a swim coach that we had a near drowning. And, he went to the hospital and he was fine. But as head coach, I could not comment on that. Like if the news would have shown up, as a coach, you should not be commenting on anything. Your responsibility is to take the information, file a report on the incident, and make sure it gets to, get the manager on the phone immediately. The manager or the public awareness chair should be the only people talking to anybody.
None of that.
Neither did I.
You didn't know that?
Just call
You
her.
should not be commenting on anything. If there is something on the news about another program and somebody from your local news calls you and says, hey, how does your program handle this? You send them to Karen or myself. And chances are we're gonna say, you'll have to contact our regional office
Yeah.
for that.
Kick it upstairs.
Kick it upstairs, because you do not want to be the person on the TV screen saying, well, I saw him do this, and that puts you right out there. Because if you're the head coach and you saw it and you didn't stop it from happening, they're gonna come back at you and they're gonna point a negative finger at you and consequently a negative finger at the program itself. So you should never be commenting on anything like that. Code of conduct. This is a big one. And, Karen, you wanna
Sure.
Do you want me to-
stand?
I'll do it.
Because of personal bias, an athlete was treated differently than the rest of the athletes, and we can't have that.
Mm-mm.
Everyone has got to be treated equally. And personal bias, what do I mean by that? If you have an issue with a parent, and this is a long-standing issue, you might have known them in high school and they weren't your favorite person. Because they have a child in the program, that personal bias better not enter into it. And there have been times that it has. Another thing with the information that is on their medical form, that should never be communicated, laughed about, carried to other people, or said to anybody outside of this organization. You might talk about a behavior that's on that medical or that you've seen exhibited to help another coach understand, how to maybe communicate, something that they're doing in their sport, so that they need to know it, so they know how to communicate with that athlete. But it should never be a derogatory comment about an athlete or a diagnosis on their medical form, ever, period.
May I add one more thing?
Mhm.
And those of us who were at state games know that this one particular athlete just was hit verbally a couple of times about being too big to be on the basketball team, and all that person could do is, all you'll be able to do is sit on the bench, and if you'd lose weight, you could do this, and you'd have a better personal relationship with your boyfriend if you lost weight, and that kind of thing. We can't do that.
That's
and when you
bullying,
hear-
guys, and that, I know we're all volunteers here, but guess what? Volunteers are held to the same standards as if you were working for somebody, and you do something against that company's policies and procedures. What are they gonna do first? They're gonna coach you and counsel you, and figure out what the issue is, and give you a plan to correct it. If you don't meet that, guess what? You can be dismissed as a volunteer. It's a myth that you can't fire a volunteer. Because if you're not treating our population the way they deserve to be treated, then you don't need to be here. Plain and simple.
What would you do if it was a parent and not a volunteer?
the parent is not a volunteer and they involve themselves in, you as a head coach can say, I'll be happy to talk to you about this afterwards. Let's set a time that you and I can sit down and talk, and I can invite, the training coordinator or the county manager. I would not have that conversation one-on-one.
I think that's a good rule all the way down the line.
Yeah.
Anytime you're dealing with a parent who might be unhappy or a caregiver.
Because let's face it, folks,
have a-
and you
have a
know how, if
witness.
something should happen to Jamie, so you're gonna be emotionally involved. So they're gonna maybe lash out at you as the head coach when they don't really mean to, but their child has been hurt or feels bad about something that they could or could not do on the court or, in their sport. So again, take a step back, say, okay, let them have their say, and then that gives you a chance to say, this is how I'll respond. Let them talk about it, and then you very calmly set up a time to have conversation out of earshot of the athletes. They should never see you arguing with a parent, another volunteer, another coach, or, anybody else who happens to be in that room.
And I think, and I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but I think it's important to remember that our parameter is what happens at Special Olympics and what affects what we do at Special Olympics. End of story. You might know, a lot of people are close, a lot of folks in the organization are close, and they know things about the athletes' lives, and don't comment on it. If somebody comes to you and says, that one was dating that one, and this one's mad because of that, that's not Special Olympics.
Right.
And so don't get involved in it, don't comment on it. It's hard to do when we're all so close. But, just try to keep it within the framework of what we're doing as Special Olympics folks.
And I totally agree with that. The closeness is what creates, because you wanna be there for that athlete. You wanna be there for them, no matter what it is, whether it's sports related or not. And you have to be very careful when you insert yourself into their personal lives.
Mhm.
So their comments about, that's my boyfriend and we did this last night, you have to curb it right there, because, and they will say that.
They did, yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's when you say, let's talk about this later, even to the athlete. Let's talk about this later whenever your parents are here, or whenever we can involve your parents in the conversation. And that way, the parent knows what you've said to that athlete in that regard. They don't have to guess, or they don't have to go by what the athlete tells them, because it will be vastly different.
It's another situation of, cover yourself, just be
Right.
careful, because it's not ever gonna come out the way
Sure.
you intended, probably, and not anyhow. And what's that line, whether the stone hits the pitcher or the pitcher hits the stone, it's bound to be bad for the pitcher. And
Yep.
it's gonna be bad, it'll get like gossip, well, this is what my coach said, well, this is what her coach said, well, wait till you hear what this one's coach, I heard that this one said that one said that the coach said this. Just be careful.
Special Olympics do bullying amongst the athletes.
About what?
Bullying.
That they have the same code of conduct that you have. And it shouldn't occur, and as head coach, you can curb that.
And it
But
can
that's,
be-
again, that's where, and this goes into my next point.
The biggest
Reporting.
problem I have with basketball, and I will say it's a basketball,
That's what I was referring
is
to.
of the athletes that not even participating in, helping out on the floor will make the snide remarks to the athletes and things of that nature. When I said to them, before, practice started one week, I said, it's up to the coach to do the coaching and the assistant coach to help. And then they know who their volunteers are, and they're the ones that are helping. But you parents cannot complain to an athlete one-on-one, like Tammy, I don't like you because you're wearing all black, I got maroon on, you don't. You know, you can't do that.
Well, and I think the way you handle that,
But here's the thing, and one of the parents said, well, I am a certified Class A volunteer, and I said, then come down here and help.
well, and so
And then
that's.
one said, well, I am certified in coaching. Well, come down here and help.
I wouldn't get into a argument with them. If they're coming down and they are not registered as your volunteer through Jessica, then you have the right to say, I realize that you're a Class A volunteer, but have you registered for this sport? I don't see your name on this list, because I'm sure that they'll be able to generate a list of the volunteers that have signed up for that particular sport. I don't see your name on this list, and until I do, you know, you are a spectator today. I'd be more than happy to have you as a volunteer. We always need extra hands. Feel free to go onto the portal and sign up on the tracker so we can track your volunteer hours.
I just tell them, come down and help volunteer. Don't sit there, coach from the stands.
Well, but it's all in the delivery, Kelly.
It was.
And you have
Just
to,
come
you
down
have to
and
be
help.
careful about the delivery. Because when you react and you shoot back at them, they're gonna shoot back at you. So diffuse the situation.
I just walked away after that, or just come down and
Just
help.
diffuse the situation, and again, take a breath and say, let them say what they have to say, and then let me decide how I'm gonna react to it. And the way you react to it is to, number one, go back to your paperwork. If they're not on there, then they have no business being on the floor. And number two, invite them to be a volunteer, and then they can come down and help you versus stand in judgment of what. But you don't need to say that to them. I would be perfectly happy to have you on the floor helping to coach if you go onto the portal and register your hours. That's all you need to say. Because if you shoot back at them, it's gonna be excuse the expression, a pissing contest as to who's gonna be the loudest and who's gonna get hurt from that. Tell me who's gonna hurt from that. Because you know that we have athletes that have sensory issues. If you get into a shouting match with somebody in the crowd and they hear that could set them off on a behavior that is gonna take hours, if not days, to bring back down. So think about athletes always. How is my reaction to this going to affect them?
And Lisa, if I'm not mistaken, perfectly within your rights, if you have a parent who is a Class A volunteer, come down and get involved in like a little coaching session or whatever where they don't belong, perfectly in your rights to say, excuse me, you know, this is not for
Absolutely.
you, please be seated, you know, please go away. Well, I'm just coaching my child's in this, no. This
You
is
still have to be registered
Yeah.
on that portal
This is me and.
as
the
a
team.
volunteer
Yeah.
for that sport.
Mhm.
And that, in that regard, the state office has done you guys a big favor.
Yeah,
Because we used to not be able to do anything about it because we had no way there was no way to track other than our written. And so there was no regulation that before you coach that sport or volunteer for that sport, that you have to be tracking your hours. So they've done you a huge favor.
Okay, on the flip side of what she is saying, she's saying, you know, come on down. I want to say the opposite is my issue. Just because you are a volunteer, you've done what you need to do, does not mean A, you belong, because let's just be clear, if I went to bocce, I would hope she'd throw me off the course because I look like it's not for me. It's just not my area. But okay, well, I can help you. But there are some, I'm not even just talking parents, sometimes there's a caregiver from a group home that is not exactly, in my opinion, someone that belongs, that's just my opinion, belongs working with anybody, but they have their own thing. and they come in and they have a say. I'm like, hold on a minute. No, that's not how we're doing things. This is how I'm doing it. If you want to coach, sign up. Like, that's how I want to say it, but I don't. I be kind of respectful, but I'm the opposite of her. I don't want you to come down. Like, unless I know you, who you are, what you add to it, you're not gonna do me any there's no, you just don't, I'm
In
sorry.
that situation, I would probably approach it a lot like I would approach it with Kelly. If they're not a registered volunteer, that's the first thing that you have to find out. Are they a registered volunteer for your sport? If they are not, then you can say, I have a lesson plan that I need to follow for the safety of my athletes. Because, you know, yours are using muscle. I mean, all of us are, all those sports are using different muscles. And you have to build up to their stamina for those particular sports. And you have to do it in succession. So you're protecting your athletes from injury. So you all have the perfect right to say, I have a lesson plan and a practice plan that I need to follow for the safety of my athletes.
Well,
I'll be
I'm
happy to
that.
listen to your suggestions at a different time, but please let me continue with my practice because we only have so much time to teach our athletes to do what we need them to do.
And that's a wonderful thing, you know, please, let's talk about this another time, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, you know, a parent just pop in and say, well, I think that it should be done this way, or it would be better if you would, no,
Yes.
go away.
Yeah, no. Well, so I want to say that. Go away.
I know.
But I try to be kind. My first year as a coach, so I was trying to be nice. This year, I'll be fired. Okay. But I'm gonna be.
If we're happening in Calgary, I can walk up.
No, I'll take a different approach. I'll just be like, listen, like after practice, we're not doing like you're stopping my practice. And actually, one of your things you were talking
And
about.
that's a great
I watched
comeback.
a basketball, and I
You
was
know,
like,
we only
you're
have-
stopping her practice. Why are you talking? Like, stay in the bench. Like, I'm not as inviting. I don't want you down here. Toodaloo. You know.
Well,
So I'm the
and in
opposite.
some ways, you know, in some ways you do need the extra hands.
Yeah, but I will happily say, do you mind? I know you're a volunteer. I know you've been certified. I know that these two have vetted you. Join over here. That's
Yeah,
why,
exactly.
you know, I mean, so like when you said Jessica, this is her new thing. I'm like, love Jessica, but Jessica doesn't know how I like to run things. So maybe I should talk with her.
Yeah.
And be like, listen, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I don't want.
Right, and that communication should always happen.
Yeah.
No matter what sport you're in,
Yeah.
if you're the expert and you've been trained and certified through Special Olympics guidelines, then you know what to look for in a coach. And that's a conversation that you all should be having with Jessica.
Oh, I
because she
know.
doesn't know.
Right.
She can find
She's gonna
somebody
She's gonna
who,
quit.
you know, can say they're good in anything. But until, you know, she has a chance to talk with them and with you to see what you're actually looking for, that communication, and that's probably the biggest piece that might be missing right now, is communication between you, the management team, and because we haven't had a volunteer
Right.
coordinator. So now that's a new piece. So the more communication, you know, if you can keep those lines open at all times, the better off you're gonna be.
And I, you know, just not to beat a dead horse or anything, but I think that in a situation like this, where we're not one of the biggest teams, one of the biggest groups, people do socialize outside of Special Olympics, and they know each other, and they feel really comfortable coming, you know, stepping in and saying, well, you know, I think you should do it. I think that opens it up to a little bit more than a place where everybody only knows each other during the training periods.
Right. Yeah, and again, because it's a smaller program, like Pittsburgh has different training sites for every sport. Like they have multiple training sites. So the people at this training site don't know the people over here at this training site, and they only see each other during competition. So they're not quite as apt to have that continual contact with because our athletes participate in a lot of different sports, and sometimes in those bigger areas they only participate in one. You'll have
Especially
in
during
Pittsburgh.
the season.
Yeah. Swimming, I know many athletes in Washington County were only in swimming. That's the only thing they ever participated in. Ours are a little different. Ours kind of participate, and we're lucky to have that because they want to be around us. They want to be involved. They want to be active. So, and that's a blessing. But again, it also creates that problem that they all know each other and all the parents know each other, and you've got this one says this and this one says that, and so it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and just know that there are people like Karen and Tammy and myself that have been through it. So if you need to vent to us.
Tammy's gonna send me a bill.
We talked about this daily when you did.
Yeah, so vent to us, and we can kind of help you through that.
Yeah.
If you're at a loss of how to handle it. Something happens at a practice and you're at a loss of how to handle it, and you've kind of put it off and been able to redirect for the time being, but you know it's gonna rear its ugly head again. So then that's the time to come to one of us and say, okay, this is what I'm up against, and I was able to kind of get them back on the bench and not interfering with that practice, but I know it's gonna happen again. How would you suggest that I go about it? And that's when we can help give you some direction.
And Christopher, your sport's a bit different than everybody else's because
Yeah.
you don't have a tracker yet. We don't have any kind of way for people to sign up so we know who's who. So anything you want, maybe we'll have a meeting like right before we're starting, or even a week after you start, when you get a feel of what you really want. And then that way, if you want to do it close, because you're also a team thing. So that makes it different from all the other ones, because everybody trains individually on all the other ones, where yours is a team work together. So if you want to do a closed practice or a certain kind of practice, we can help with that.
Okay.
So we can try to eliminate the people.
And again, if you just need another volunteer in the room to make sure
nobody's
that you're not the
volunteering
only
on
coach
this
in the
team,
room.
I would never do that to him. I'm not chair by any means, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah, me either.
No, because it's not gonna let people willingly sign up for this, like,
Yeah,
no.
but that's the-
I think we should interview
It's way
the
different than most
volunteers.
of the
That's
Well,
what
and
we need
again,
to do.
even like swimming.
Like, I think
People
Gary
can
Jones
swim,
wants to
but
do
they
that.
don't necessarily know the mechanics of a stroke, and it's great to have people in the pool that know how to swim,
Yeah.
but you also have to have somebody that's going to be able to teach our athletes how to do it correctly, because when they go to states, Rita, I'm sure you experienced this, when they go to states, they will look at how that athlete does and they will
Sure.
disqualify them if they're not doing the stroke or the kick correctly.
Right.
And that's the integrity of the program. We are supposed to be teaching them the proper way of doing things. And sometimes it's physically possible and sometimes it's not. A couple of more points and then I'll let you guys go. Reporting procedures, just make sure that you're documenting any incident, including, bullying between athletes, bullying from spectators to athletes.
Where do you document that?
We have
There's a
incident
form.
reports. We have blank incident report papers, and in fact, we should probably make sure each coach has.
Yeah, I would recommend making up like a portfolio packet for each coach to have those needed forms in there, and you might wanna put, they do have, Special Olympics Pennsylvania has it looks like a little business card, but on there is the insurance company, if, there's injury or something like that. There's the, state office public awareness or a PR person that you would contact to, manage any loss of life or, and it,
God.
it happens,
Deep. I
it
got
happens.
deep.
You know what, let me email Andrew.
See if they
It's
still
more
have
than
those.
likely we have to go through the region now. You have to go local, so me or Karen would have to know.
You guys do.
And then the region would have to know, and then the region
Would
would
go,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, since they regionalized, it's a little bit.
It's a little bit,
different than what
there's
it used to be.
another step in there that.
Yeah, that we didn't have.
It's kind of a good buffer for us,
Yeah.
though. It
Right,
really
right.
is, yeah.
But again, that goes back to not making the comments, just getting the information on paper and getting it to the people who will need it. And so, all reports must be handled with discretion and respect for privacy. HIPAA kicks in everything that we do. So diagnoses, anything, cannot be talked about outside of this organization unless you're communicating to another coach on something that they need to know to help them coach that athlete. Retaliation against anyone who reports misconduct or concerns in good faith is strictly prohibited and can be cause for dismissal from your volunteer activities. If urgent safety is at risk, contact local authorities immediately in addition to organizational reporting. So again, follow that procedure. If somebody's causing an issue and you think you need the police there to contain the situation, then you do that, but make sure that the manager is aware at all times.
And so far, we've been able to, 99% of the time, either Tammy or I or both of us is at all of the training sessions. Now, in the spring, when we have 3 sports going at once, that might be a little bit different. We'll see, but, just get to us, let us do it. We'll call the police, we'll call the ambulance, whatever has to be done, just make sure that we know what's going on so that we can do it. And then, the coach and the volunteers can
And
attend to the situation.
by following
with
these
the athlete.
procedures, we're gonna foster a safe, inclusive, and accountable environment for everybody involved, not just our athletes, but you all as volunteers as well. We want you to be safe too. We do not want an athlete that has maybe a behavior disorder striking one of you. If that's, if you're in an imminent danger, and you need help, call the authorities and then and try to diffuse the situation, but it may or may not be possible. There have been times that, I had an athlete at state games decide he was gonna try and get me out of my dorm room window. And so, oh yeah, so that's why you gotta know at all times who those SOS people are at state games. Who are the ask me people that I need to contact if I'm in, me or my athletes are in danger. Another thing is, along those lines, when you're traveling to state games, make sure that you are not leaving your athletes alone. I don't care for 2 seconds.
Right.
Not even state games, even if it's
Anywhere you go.
a regional, anything,
Yeah, anywhere that you
Or even
go.
a practice, anything.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
well, this team, they wanna walk over to the snack bar together, well, go with them,
yeah, absolutely.
You just never know.
Oh,
Yeah.
they ran into the store to get a bag of chips. You go with them.
Mhm.
You
Make
don't
sure
know.
What about when they're they're rooming by themselves though?
Well, but they're rooming with,
So, but that worried me a little bit, like with Eddie.
well, but those dorms are locked and they have people watching to make sure athletes don't go out and
Who's
the,
watching though? Like, I was worried for Eddie, I really was.
the alarm will sound if they open the door after hours,
Oh, if they go outside.
if they go outside. I mean, they might walk around the building,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I mean, he didn't do anything, but that was my first deal.
Yeah, it's always a concern. That's always a concern when you're taking them for something that's overnight.
He was
Because,
wonderful, but I just
Yeah.
Was he lonely? I'm so
Yeah, and
afraid for him.
another thing that used to concern me was in the swim, when you would send them into the locker room and they wouldn't come out forever, it's like, and if it was a male, I couldn't go in there, so I would have to find a male coach to go in. So, those are just things that you need to think about and decide how you're gonna handle them before you get there. But yeah, the campus security, as far as that's concerned, is if an athlete would try to go out the front doors and get out of the building, then first of all, you'd hear it, and campus security is close enough that they know who's in those dorm rooms and they're using, extra bodies to
That's
make sure.
different in fall. Because we're at hotels.
Yeah,
And I think
exactly.
that's where.
Even in the hotels, we are basically, most of the people in all those hotels are special Olympics people.
Or to keep you guys from getting burned out, because you're cultivating that thought that, hey, I might wanna get involved in this, the more positively you talk about it, the more people are gonna wanna get involved. If you're out there saying, oh my God, I can't stand, you think anybody else is gonna wanna come in here? No. So, keep that in mind when you're out there talking to people, even if you've had the roughest day at practice, or the roughest day at work and you really don't wanna go to practice. I found a lot of times whenever I had a rough day at work and didn't wanna go to the practice, as soon as I walked in there, my mood changed because they were so happy I was there.
And I think-
That's why I came back.
Yeah.
And I think you find that too, if you go to something that you don't personally coach. Go to something else, go to the ice cream social, or go to the calendar party, or, to the dance, the special needs prom or something. They're so thrilled to see you, and that just strengthens the bond a little
Yeah.
bit as well. We have one, I know that, the behavior specialist from Laurel House comes to a lot of the trainings. He doesn't have to be there. He said, I like it means a lot to them when I come, to his people. And it's very much the same for us as volunteers. If we go to something that we're not directly involved with the athletes, and they see us there, and it just means a lot to them.
I haven't been as visible probably, in the last 5 years?
You've been
Maybe
busy.
just the calendar party. I haven't been as visible, but I can guarantee you that if I walk into the special needs prom, I'm gonna be inundated with people around me.
Absolutely.
Hi, how are you? And Janie Cook, every time she gives me a hug, I'm thinking that I'm gonna lose my jaw, cause something she does with her shoulder just kinda, but you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world, because she has a bond with me.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of them do, like, Stephen Giles, who has since passed, but my husband Mike still comments on Stephen, because Stephen would know, like, he would ask you what kind of car you have. And if he would see Mike, 15 years later, hey, you still have that blue Chevy? Mike's not had that blue Chevy in 15 years, but he remembered. Chuck Holmes, how's your cat? So they form a bond with you, and we owe it to them to give them the respect that they deserve as friends of ours. Not just our charge, but as friends of ours. Treat them the way you would treat a friend or your own child.
Because we all have a value of one.
Yeah, so just make yourself known, and be at as many events as you possibly can, just to give them the confidence that you're there for them, you're behind them 110%.